This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Welcome to the NBA Team Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Andrew Reich. I am joined by Adam Murray. Adam, what do you have in store for us today?
It is another week as we really just try, it's just a wet, soggy paper bag of nobody's really having fun with this second half of the season, are they?
I think that because of the fact that the top teams are so close together, other than maybe one or two, that there's competition up top, but that upper echelon is very thin. Like, I think you could pretty much handicap the title contenders to, I'd probably say 4 in the East and maybe 3 in the West. Is that fair?
Yeah, so when you have that middle class sort of play in 5-6 area, the Torontos, Phillies, Miami.
There's always potential for a surprise finals participant. We've talked about that before, but the thing is, that's number one, that's never guaranteed. Sometimes it's a sure thing in the finals. And the other part is that you don't know how many of these teams are going to make a run. And then once you get to the play in and play off, you have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah, we went into a lot of that a little week ago,
right.
But now this is, I will refer to this time period as evaluation across the nation.
Okay.
Where everybody's getting these two-way deals, upgraded to regular contracts.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about prior the Sacramento. We're just going to have everyone just get surgeries.
I will tell you that was the most, usually with those two-way, I know this is a very small topic, but I found it interesting, and I think it speaks to the fact that Oklahoma City won with depth last year, and they built their team with depth and defense, but mainly depth and having a top scorer. This is the most two-way contracts I've seen converted in one season ever. And I think it has to do with not just the quick development of these players skills-wise. I think it's just the fact that teams are realizing, man, if this guy really jumps off the box score, then we really need to try to sign this guy up to a team-friendly deal before he's gone.
Now, is it that, or because this is the season of injuries, you've had so many players reaching their 50-game maximum at record paces?
And we talked about that in the MIP race discussion, where it's like we have so many candidates for MIP, not necessarily there's a couple of guys that you could easily say, oh, yeah, that one, like Jalen Johnson or Denny Avdia, they're going to win it. But there's a lot of guys who are contenders for it because of the fact that so many people have gotten hurt and they have to play those minutes. It's sort of a chicken or the egg. Is it because of the development of the players, or is it because the minutes are there because star players are DNPing all the time? I don't know. What do you think about that?
I just think, again, like I said, it was because of the injuries. Detroit's number one, but you had Dennis Jenkins who reached his limit, and then
he got a full on. He was one of the rare. So all the converted two ways. What happens is, for those who don't know, what happens most times with converted two ways is that the remainder of the season salary that they would be owed as an average player by average salary or minimum salary, that's what they get. So it's something between $520,000 and around $700,000. However, there are some two-way guys that have been so good that they just full upfront gave them the full money to play like a full-time salary so they can guarantee extra years on the year after and the year after that. And I think the three that have been in that category are Gui Santos for the Warriors, the one that you had just mentioned, I'm already blanking on his name.
Dennis Jenkins
for the Pistons has been awesome, and Dominic Barlow with the Philadelphia 76ers.
And Plowden for Sacramento, I believe.
That's a surprise. Because he kind of came out of nowhere. I don't know about Pat Spencer for the Warriors. I want to say no. I don't think he got the full guarantee.
Yes, well, but he got a deal early because of injury.
Didn't Steve Kerr call him a mother effer? Like he's one of his boys. He's one of his guys.
Yes,
but there have been players like that where they were two ways. I might be wrong about this, but I really think Austin Reeves was a two-way player at first. I think. But
again, because of injuries and everyone reaching down, Minnesota, was it Johnny Juzang He reached his
Yes.
limit, and they said, "We don't have a spot for you. We're just going to straight up cut you." Like
Hmm.
again, record thing. But the question is, this is evaluation across the nation. Is there anyone, whether it be two ways or recent trade people or anything that you're sort of looking forward to? Because you like, okay, we know League Pass is very tough to watch right now,
Well, some of the
especially
games, yes. Yeah.
especially for me, who all I get really to watch is just these 7 o'clock games before it gets too late for me, and
Hmm.
I'm stuck watching the Wizards and the Nets all the time because they're always the early games.
And
But
you know
so is
what's
there?
funny for me, because I work, I'm on the central time zone. So these games, if I'm working, I might get home at 7, 8. Some of these games have already started on, the games that you're watching, they're already at halftime when I get home. So sometimes I don't always watch them. I sometimes like to watch in the late night, and unfortunately, it's not always the best examples, like the Kings, the Blazers, the Jazz. Like these are terrible teams, but these are the last teams usually on the schedule.
So question is there any of these young players slash recent additions that you were kind of looking forward to?
I want to see if any of these second year players, if they're not shut down by their teams, and I mean players who were drafted in 2024. I want to see if any of these players start to pop off, because the third year is the year where you really blossom, but it's at the end of that, it's in the tail end of that second season, the sophomore season, where you start to see, oh, this guy's got potential to be a real star. We saw that with Brandon Miller a little bit last year. I'm starting to see that a little bit right now with Alex Sarr. Like Alex Sarr, would you agree or disagree that he's starting to slowly turn into an elite NBA center? Do you think that's too early to say?
Well, he was sort of
Like
touted as,
he's averaging a steal and he's top 5 in blocks. Like that's elite.
but he was the Bismack Biyombo of last year's class. He has tons of defense. We don't know if he's ever going to find an offensive game,
Hmm.
which him averaging 15 points, close, or 14, 15, I believe,
Double double. Like is he at how many is he at 9.5, or is he at like 8.5 rebounds?
for the
He's
year.
Yes,
He's about
he's close. He's close to
uh,
double double status.
no, 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 no. He is averaging about 17 points, almost 8 rebounds.
Almost 8 rebounds. So that he could get up. He could get up in this third year when you really blossom. That's when John Morant won his MIP award. I'm trying to think of other guys who in their third year really took off. But that's what I always notice at the end. Like the ones I'll give you some of the names of the guys that I'm starting to notice that are really starting to show, and you tell me if you've been watching them too. Kalel Ware, Bub Carrington, Modest Buzelis. I'm sorry, he's been really good. Kling Kong, Donovan Clingan, Ronald Holland II, and Reed Shepard and Zachary Razachier. I'm not counting Steph Castle. He's already an elite player.
Holland, I watch him and I don't want to say something still seems off with him or he doesn't have, he's not
He,
there yet.
JB Bickerstaff, the coach, he loves playing him at the six spot, the 6 man
Yeah,
spot.
he's entered the rotation more. He's like, I remember the
Yeah.
beginning, it was like, the
And he's not a point guard. That's why Jenkins is playing so many minutes,
yeah,
like we were
early
just
last
talking about.
season they sort of revised his role and they say you need to be the energy hustle guy as opposed to
Hmm.
being the star. And yeah, I see development, but maybe it's because the rest of the Detroit Pistons took such a leap. He's obviously on a developmental curve, which
And you don't get buried. That's not fair to say because he's getting a ton of minutes,
no,
but
no, he's getting his minutes, he's getting his
you're
time, and
overshadowed. You're overshadowed.
that's the correct term.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Um,
there are guys that fall to the wayside, Unfortunately, Dalton Connect. I think that's a mental thing. When he almost got traded and they kept him back, that messed with his head. I really believe
well, they
that's
kept
what
him back
happened.
and they just give him DNPs at the end, so
Yeah.
you
And
can't
then
develop if you don't play.
Jalen Tyson's been awesome. He's sort of in the category of Ron Holland II, where if in the playoffs he could be highly valuable. He might actually like bail him out in a playoff game, in the right circumstance. I love Kaishan George. The problem is the Wizards are tanking. He's not playing at all. Like,
But
he's
the
too
problem
good.
with Kaishan George is, I want to say, a problem with the Wizards because you have George, you got Trey Johnson, you got Billy Okulabi, you got Will Riley,
And you'll likely get another guard in the draft.
all that you shipped out Corey Kispert because of that reason.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a logjam, and we like him, but
Yeah.
and Bub Carrington, I've said he seems like he has a very low because I believe last year as a rookie he had like the most minutes. Like they just
He
played him
did.
straight on, but
He played more minutes than any other Wizards player last year. This year it's been tapered down. I want to say because remember, before he got traded to Atlanta, McCollum played a ton of minutes for Washington. Now I don't even know what they're doing. Like they're tanking so badly that if Tristan Vukcevic goes off, they immediately sit him. Like that's where they're like coaches are openly tanking games now, and Brian Keefe is one of those people.
he is and he isn't because yes, he's openly taken. We met, you had CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton who didn't
Mhm.
fit any roster, but you can't
Neither
take away
are
their minutes.
neither are there anymore. Chris is in
And
Dallas,
you
and
have so
CJ's in
many
Atlanta.
young people who all play the same position. You
Yeah,
can't.
and you make the swings, the big swings for Trey and AD, but obviously they're probably not going to play a minute this year. So it's one of those weird
Or if they do,
situations.
it'll be one game just to get them in
Yeah.
for
Another
photo
guy
ops.
who's another sophomore player who's going to be probably in the playoffs, but I really don't know what to expect. He's had good moments though, is Reed Shepard for the Rockets. You know that teams are going to attack him on defense. That's because Houston's an elite defensive team, but everyone knows that Reed will probably be the weakest defender on the court. So teams are going to game plan against him, but he has had great moments. He's had games where he's made 5 3-pointers or more multiple times. He's a good player. He was the third pick, but I think he's in a tough spot. I think he's got a bright future, but he's in a very tough spot because this team has to win.
Okay. Now you said this is the time for the second year players to leap to
Show
their
some promise,
value.
like show what they can do in
Yes.
their third year. Yeah.
As opposed to, let's say, was it Cody Williams
Oh
and
man.
Zach Edey,
Yeah.
who's always injured.
Rob Dillingham,
Ives Messi, who they liked when he came in as a
I liked
rookie,
him
but
at first. Yeah, I liked him at first, but the problem is you bring in Derek Queen and it's like, okay, this is your 4 now. This is your 4 or 5 guy now.
we'll get to him a little bit later. How about any rookies that you're in this development time?
Well, the rookies, it's been a rare situation where the ones who have stood out have really stood out, meaning Flag, Canoopel, and Edgecombe. Like they have been so good at them.
Yeah.
Fears has had his moments. Trey Johnson's had his moments. I like Trey Johnson. Just a
Okay.
born scorer. Ace Bailey is one of those candidates like you're kind of describing where in the back half of his rookie year, when things kind of don't matter anymore, he starts to show promise. He
That's what I
looked
mean. People
lost.
like that.
He looked lost to start. And also I think his reputation got ahead of him because I noticed that referees just were fouling him out constantly, or he just didn't know how to defend yet when he got into the league. He started to play a lot better on a tanking, to be fair, a tanking Jazz team. Nolan Traore for Brooklyn is actually pretty good. The player from France.
Okay. I thought you would have gone with a different player for Brooklyn who you were quite high on.
Drummond. I have to work on the pronunciation of his name because if you read it, it's Egor is the first name. The last name is Demin. But the way it's pronounced is Drummond. Which is weird.
I was going to say Danny Wolf. You
He
liked
can
him early coming out of Michigan.
Score. He can score.
And then he was injured beginning of the season, and he seems like he can. There's potential there, is what I was going to say. Not like was it Ben Saraf, who doesn't seem like
man.
Demon,
you take 5 picks out of there if you're Brooklyn in the first round. If 3 of the 5 hit, I'd say that's okay.
2 or 2.5.
We'll see about Drake Powell. I think Drake Powell's been hurt a lot this year, so it's hard to figure out what he is at this point. Cedric Coward kind of came out of nowhere too. He's been really good. He actually so good that Memphis is tanking now and they have to sit him because he's too good.
He's him and their other Washington State Cougar. whose name escapes me.
Jalen Wells. Jalen Wells.
Yeah, they are the new cornerstones.
Yeah. Um,
Um, and like I said, Will Riley started off
there's another Will
DNPs
R
and
who's been really good. He played for Florida. Will Richard. He's played for the Warriors. And he basically took Jimmy Butler's spot when he tore his ACL, and he's actually not played badly at all as a rookie. And he was the 56th pick of the draft.
another just the last of the rookies from me that's worth sort of watching is Yannick Niederhauser for the Clippers.
You know what's so funny about that, Adam? Me and another friend were talking about this guy, and we just laugh at his name. But when Ivica Zubac got traded, you had to play him.
Yeah, because you had
And
Brooke
he's
Lopez and that was
actually
it.
not so no one knew him because he played at Penn State. Penn State is where basketball potential goes to die. Nobody watches Penn State to watch NBA players. And but yeah, Yannick Conan Niederhauser is not a bad player. He sounds like a hockey player.
Well,
But
his parents named him after Conan the Barbarian. That was his middle name.
but it's
Like
spelled
that's a true story.
but it's spelled with a K. His
Yeah.
name is, I mean, but Conan the Barbarian's with a C.
Yeah.
Then how do you name it after you missed the what? I don't know.
Well, you remember there was way back in the 90s, there was a story that it was one of the talk shows, like either Sally Jesse Raphael or Phil Donahue or somebody. They did a thing on parents who all named their kids ESPN, and most of them were at ESPYN, and they call them ESPN.
Did you ever hear the story?
So it's the same.
Did you ever hear the story about Isaiah Thomas, the former Celtics Kings Suns guard?
What about him?
He was named Isaiah with an A because it was a bet between his dad and a friend of his dad before he was born of what to name him. And if the Pistons beat the Lakers, they were going to name him Isaiah. And that's why he was called Isaiah Thomas.
Okay.
So, and if you notice, it is spelled with an A, not ISI.
Yes.
So that's the difference.
Anybody else? Any other third, fourth year guys?
Ryan Kolkbrenner is sort of a guy who can he's almost like Porzingis, where defensively he can unlock stuff for you because he can take on a lot of defensive responsibilities that guards just don't want to take in Charlotte. And I've noticed that one of the reasons, even though Charlotte's offense has been great, the reason why they're winning games is that their defense got better. And I think it's because of Diobate, who's like a third or fourth year player, and Kolkbrenner inside.
Okay. Any recent movement, like people who went to Chicago or Milwaukee or somewhere where there's minutes that opened up? Any older guys? Like, I'll just say.
Well, I'll tell you one who absolutely does not fit in this criteria is Kobe White. Like, he's got no room in Charlotte. Like, where's he going to play? That's a tough scenario for him. The thing about Chicago is that they're not tanking, but they're not. I don't think they're trying to be that competitive. I don't think they're gung-ho about trying to make the play-in after they unloaded guys. But there is potential there to play for some of their guys because they do have open spots at the guard spot.
Like, just for example, you had mentioned this a little while back. Who was a person that sort of inspired this topic? You mentioned how Jeracy Walker now has a pulse.
Mm-hmm.
And he's somebody who's benefited from having minutes and being able to showcase. Well, we have anything?
He can also pass. He can also pass, unbelievably.
No, because I was thinking of Ousmane Dang, who was just 0 minutes, 0 chance for minutes.
Yeah, where did he wind up going?
Milwaukee.
Where did he land? So he had a revenge game against Oklahoma City. They went to Oklahoma City. Talk about the Bucks. The Bucks beat him, and Ousmane Dang was the best. He got the most minutes for the Bucks.
Yeah. And Dillingham in Chicago is why I mentioned that, because he was buried. There's no. Yeah. It's very hard if you have a championship caliber.
It's going to be really tough for Dillingham. I'll just put it that way. Now Simons is hurt. I think he broke his wrist. So there is, like I already said, there's playing time there. Dillingham might be able to do it, but Trey Jones is still healthy and they really like him. I'm trying to think of some of the other guards that wound up landing there after
Jaden Ivey.
Jaden Ivey's hurt. They're reevaluating a knee injury he had that never really healed right. And that's bad timing for Ivy because he's a restricted free agent coming up and his stock could never be lower. And that's a shame. I mean, what are you going to do about it? If I had to, Craig Porter Jr. in Cleveland, is that another one because of James Harden being hurt?
Well, I think that's Tyson is the
They love Tyson.
Ty-
He's such a good shooter. That's one of the things that kind of made him a valuable player when he was drafted, is that he could shoot a high percentage from outside. And he's played a lot more. Even before the Harden deal, he was playing a lot more. And Dallas is just interesting because you just don't know who's going to play. Sometimes it's Brandon Williams. Sometimes it's
Okay.
Max Christie. Sometimes it's Ryan Nembhard. Like, you don't know what to expect.
Okay, that was just like I said, your Jeracy Walker comment last week sort of inspired this thought. Another thing is the famous story of the season is going in was New Orleans traded their unprotected pick
Mm-hmm.
for Derek Queen.
Yes.
And so New Orleans is obviously not on the tank train and not on the developmental train like everyone else. They are trying
Not
to win.
yet. As we are speaking, not yet.
I don't believe they're ever going to. You wouldn't bring DeJounte Murray back, and you wouldn't still have Zion playing, who has had a healthy year, more or
He
less.
has. The only problem with Zion is that he hasn't really done any development at all as a playmaker. I think he's just settled now on, like, look, I'm just gonna go to the rack.
Well,
And that's okay. I mean, if
be
that's what you're
fair,
good at, go ahead.
to be fair, can he develop without a coach who was fired so early?
Point Zion has been abandoned. It was a fun project a couple times, but now it's been abandoned.
It was desperation, but so since they're obviously not tanking, again, you wouldn't bring Murray back. You would have shelved Zion for some injury and started all the young guys.
They also had another converted two-way player named Bryce McGowens, who they liked.
So they are currently, I believe, 5th or 6th in the standings. They will most likely jump up at least a few spots because obviously Chicago isn't trying anymore. Dallas isn't trying, and Memphis.
I think the Grizzlies are on the precipice of tanking. Like, they're very, very close.
Well, they were by getting rid of Jaren Jackson Jr.
The reason why I say close is because realistically, they're still within striking distance of the Clippers or the Blazers, but it's slowly starting to drift.
Yeah,
away.
but I can imagine them going, "It's not worth it this year."
That's what I'm saying. Well, that's what I'm trying to say. I feel like they've already internally decided that they just
so
they have depth. The team has depth in terms of the in terms of drafting. So even when they don't roll out their best lineups, talking about Memphis, they still can win games.
So with let's say the Pelicans have the 60 now, so they're going to gain 9 positions. So they'll be probably 9th. Let's say they don't move up and win the lottery. Are you okay now trading the number 9 pick for Derek Queen? So, like, at what point is the pick too valuable?
Well, here's the problem. Not all draft years are the same. It depends on how valuable
this current
the lottery
year
is.
This current year, let's say they finish 9th.
I'm still disappointed because I feel pretty certain that all the top 10 picks in the lottery are going to probably hit. It's a top 2 draft in terms of a superstar. We can debate whether it's 3 if you want to count Cameron Boozer or Kingston Flemings. But I feel like if you're in the top 10, you're going to get a good player. So I'm still upset.
But you like Derek Queen. You say
I
he's
very
a
much like Derek Queen, and I think he's an untradeable asset, along with Jeremiah Fears. Like, those are 2 guys that I would not take any phone calls. Trade Murphy, I would take a phone call because if I could get a couple first-round picks for him.
But no, the question is, at what pick is Derek Queen acceptable to slide in? If the Pelicans had what pick, would you be okay with? All right, it was a fair trade.
Outside of the lottery.
Okay, so that's a little too
a lottery. If it was a lottery protected first, then it would have been fun.
Because
But
there's no
Atlanta
way
wouldn't have done the deal. Atlanta wouldn't have done the deal.
Top 10 picks wouldn't have.
The reason Atlanta did the deal at all is because it was an unprotected pick.
They probably would have done it if it were top 4 protected or top something.
Yeah, and but it's very. I mean, one way or another, it is going to Atlanta. And, I wonder if the motivation, too, is to say, hey, we're not just going to lay down and let Atlanta steal a high pick. We're going to make them earn it, because they're not playing like you had just mentioned, like they're not playing poorly. I'll tell you one guy who in the trade deadline people were talking about and they didn't decide. They decided not to trade a pick to get him. And I think some playoff teams are going to regret it is Sadiq Bey. I think that there are teams that are watching him going, God damn it, we should have just given up a first round pick and gotten Bay to fill up our roster.
Not even a first round pick.
Like
He
just a good
was,
player. Like for example, if you were the Pistons, I would have traded Karis LeVert for Sadiq Bey.
yeah, but he's coming off an ACL and he was off all last year.
Yeah, but he's
So
averaging like 20 points a game in the month of February.
we had mentioned that. I said that was one of the sort of the bright spots
Yeah.
of
And that's what
of
we look for sometimes. You want to try to be optimistic in the in the dirt of all the tanking and all the crap games that are littering the NBA schedule down the stretch. But and then the other one of the other things I do look forward to kind of circle back to that very beginning when you said what other things are there to watch or to be excited about. There are regular season matchups that I look at down the road involving, the Knicks and even the Hornets, who are an upstart team now, and the Lakers, because you don't know about LeBron's future and he's being mum about it. There are games I'm looking forward to seeing in terms of
okay.
matchups.
So one last sort of early prediction before we get into our main topic of um, overtime and does it need to be changed? How many coaches, not do you think will there be any? How many coaches will be let go at the end of the season?
I'll tell you one, and I think it's because I think that Orlando's playoff prospects and the expectations are not aligned, and they're going to wind up playing probably Boston or New York. And I don't like their chances in those matchups, depending on the play in. I think Jamal Mosley's getting let go. And I don't know if it's necessarily fair to him, but I think where there's smoke, there's fire. He's had the disagreements publicly with Paulo. And if they have a season where they're going into the tax and they get bounced in the first round or they just barely survive the play in, you're going to have to do something different. So that's one.
Okay.
If I had to guess, just right off the top of my head, I would say there's going to be at least 4 changes. I think Will Hardy is not going to get let go. I think Brian Keefe is a dead man walking. That's one where I think they're going to make a change because Trey Young and Anthony Davis want to handpick their new coach. Doug Christie, I understand that they pay more coaches than they do players in Sacramento, but
But
I
he's
I think he's done for.
we had said he's a 3-year
Does
coach with a
does
third
Chauncey Billups
option.
count since he wasn't
No, he's
exact?
already well.
So it's complicated because of the suspension and the pending status of his legal status. He's not like fired per se because they're trying to fire him with cause, but I would kind of consider him fired. And
Okay.
Tiago Splinter is going to retain that spot, so that's not going to be a coaching change. I think Borrego is going to keep the job in New Orleans. I think this is his
Well, they've already
audition.
fired their coach, so that doesn't count.
Yeah,
Interim coaches don't.
But what I'm saying is James Borrego's actually played well. There are rumors that Doc Rivers is planning to retire soon. And gosh, man, he coached the Lakers for a couple of years. What's his name? Darvin Ham. That Darvin Ham would be the next in line if Doc Rivers stepped away. Would that count?
I was gonna say, what do you think of Doc Rivers and perhaps Quinn Snyder in Atlanta?
I think Snyder's safe. I think Snyder wants a full year without Trey Young just to see what it looks like.
Okay.
I mean, he got most of a year without Trey.
It's still early. So, I mean, last year, would you have predicted Memphis and Denver would make last second coaching changes?
No.
Yeah. So
And
anything is possible.
I think Billy Donovan is one where it's very complicated because every single time I think he's on the verge of either quitting or being let go for a sea change in Chicago, he gets an extension. So it's like,
Well, they just gave him an extension last year, so there's
and
no way
I
they're
don't
getting rid
know
of
the
him.
stat, and this one's super complicated because of how successful he's always been in Golden State. And I don't know if he got an extension yet. I want to say, here's the thing about Steve Kerr in Golden State. He can get an extension whenever he wants, but does he want to coach anymore? And he knows that this team is on the downtrend.
I
So,
imagine he will take a one more year to do a last dance with
but that wouldn't count
Butler,
towards this
Curry,
because
and
if
no,
he
that
gives
was
him
just a
one more
question.
year, yeah.
Just
And then there's rumors there involving Tyronn Lue and his involvement with betting. I think the Clippers would love to keep Tyronn Lue. They already gave Lawrence Frank, the GM, an extension. My theory about Lawrence Frank and why he got this extension when he did is because they know they're going to get punished. And this was basically a thank you to Lawrence Frank for basically running the Clippers while they have no picks.
You know, just a quick last note. The fact that he was able to get Garland and Mathurin, who I imagine they could re-sign. They got
Yeah.
they get Harden's money off. I think it's not all doom and gloom because you got two starting caliber players
My
for a
hot
30.
take. My hot take is because Powell kind of resurrected his career in Clipperland as a six man, which is what Ben Matherin is. I think Matherin's better than Powell. I know Powell was an all-star in Miami, but I like Matherin. And now he's an RFA. How much money do you have to pay to keep him?
I
That's the
don't
next problem.
think a ton because everybody's holding off for I think one more year, and we mentioned that. But anyways, those are just a few questions
And
I had as we.
Garland's incredibly talented. He's just had a foot and toe injury for it feels like an entire calendar year. You know,
Yeah, he's always had it, and then there were always questions: can he work with Mitchell? And we know
and
that
the
didn't.
answer was no. But yeah, if I had to guess, maybe about 4 or 5, which is usually the average in terms of coaching changes. I don't see like playoff teams firing their coaches right before the playoffs. I just can't envision it.
All right,
I mean, do
so
you have? Is there any random firing where you can see it? Like I know you said Quinn Snyder.
Quinn Snyder,
Um.
Finch, if they go out in the first round,
Mhm.
that's a desperation move. Other than that, I think
I think
everyone
I
in
think Solo is safe in Memphis.
I would imagine because they blew it up, and you can't just hire somebody who then had disagreements and
And I know Toronto is in a weird crunch where they spend a lot of money, and if it doesn't work, they might have to unload either Barrett or Quickly.
but
But
that's not.
they like
Yeah,
Darko Rajakovic. They like
yeah,
him.
he's fine. There, no, I think we're all good. So, all right, let's get into our topic of overtime.
Okay. Is it cold up there right now, Adam?
It has been quite a brutal winter, and the snow levels, I believe, rivaled 2015 up here.
Would you rather be in the upper East Coast or would you rather been at a ski resort in Italy like most of the nation was?
So what are we going with our Olympic talk, which has been over for quite some time? I
Well,
mean,
first of
the
all,
Winter
let's get
Olympics,
it out of the way. Did you watch any of it?
I watched a little bit, as most people did.
I'm sure you watched the hockey games.
The hockey games are one of the pinnacle events
Mm-hmm.
of the Olympics, yes.
Yeah. And I'm sure you saw the figure skater. Oh man. Well, the woman's figure skaters got the gold, but
Alyssa Liu.
Alyssa Liu was awesome. Ilya Malinin. Oh man. You know what? I want to bring this up. Do you remember a scenario? And let's just keep it to the NBA, not football. Football, there's too many examples. Where so Ilya Malinin was like first in the men's figure skating all the way up to his last one, which was called the free skate. This is the last one. If you nail this, you win. And if you mess this up, you lose. His runner up at that point fell. He was done. So all Molinen has to do is just do a basic, like a C grade performance, and you win. He decided I'm the quad god. I got to go for the quad, and then he blew his quad like multiple times. So let me just ask you this: is there an NBA equivalent of where a team or a player was like, you just have to play well, and you win?
Yeah.
And he completely melted down, or the team melted
We also, in the same time period of the Winter Olympics, look at the All-Star game.
down. Mm-hmm.
The 3-point contest. Oh, you just got to make the top four. You just got to make the top two. Okay, it's the finals. Well, I'm going second. The first guy kind of blew it, but you don't think I need to take it easy. You have your routines booked, period. The same thing with the dunk contest. Like the dunk contest, which is a joke now, but if you blow your first dunk, you're basically done
Yeah.
because people don't want to see. You either have to go to your back. There you go. You fail on your first dunk. You now have to do a safe dunk, which everyone's like, yeah, that was lame.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me be clear. I'm not trying to clown on Ilya Malinin. That was sad. I mean,
I never said that, but you
he-
don't train to have a safe. You have
he knew he blew it. He knew he blew it.
But you have your routine period. You're not going to wake up in the morning or in the middle of you watch you're like, no, I have my routine built in. I know it.
Let's be
I can't
real.
do
None of us casuals are figure skating experts, but you could see the scores. And this is one of those situations where it's like, hey, if I just do a very basic dance, but it's not great, I win. And you know what I compared it to? LeBron James in the 2011 NBA Finals when his first year with the Heat, where he played the Mavericks, and it was just like, look, they're going to have a defensive game plan against you. You just have to be aggressive and play well, and you win the series. You win the finals. You're more talented than them. Not only did he not play well, he played his worst finals ever. Like it was in his head at
I
that
have
point.
a good example as well.
Okay.
It's a daily example. You're playing against your opponent, whatever, for lack of anything. Let's just say the Knicks and the Pelicans. Okay. Well, the Pelicans didn't show up. The Knicks have a 25-point lead going into the fourth quarter. Okay, it's the fourth quarter. You're already ahead. You watched your opponent fall. Let's take it easy. Let's take our foot off the gas. Wait a minute. The Pelicans just came back, and now it's a 5-point game.
Yep.
Because you took it easy. So if you try to coast in at the end, they will come back and get you, or you will make a mental mistake because you're like, I'm not dialed in.
Yep.
So I don't think
we see that a lot in college basketball,
but
especially
I think you are
blow leads.
Yeah. And momentum is a thing in college.
In the NBA, it's different because these teams are just the players are just so much better. They'll be able to manufacture baskets. Whereas college, like Adam, I saw a game where St. John's, they didn't make a basket for 20 minutes. 20 minutes in this economy.
But I believe you were getting distracted, and I believe you had started with the hockey point.
Yeah, because the Winter Olympics is, it's fun. It's all engrossing. It's 2 weeks of greatness and 2 weeks of sadness. The greatness was for the U.S. men's hockey team and the women's hockey team. They both beat Canada. But here's what interested me. They both went to overtime. I didn't know this until it happened. They play 3-on-3 in overtime. We can debate. I'm not a hockey aficionado. We can debate whether or not that's a great idea. I have watched podcasts where hockey fans say that they don't like that because they don't think it's real hockey. But I just got the idea because we've seen this with the Josh Allen rule and the Brett Favre rule in the NFL playoffs with the overtimes where they've changed them dramatically so that both teams get a shot at it. Let me ask you this. Do you think the NBA just has a perfect overtime system and that's why it hasn't changed in the last 60 years or 70 years? Or do you think they can do something different?
There's nothing wrong with it. The problem with hockey and the problem with baseball and the problem.
Well, when baseball, it's extra innings. It's not called overtime.
It's the same thing. It's just under a different name. Extra innings is just overtime.
Right.
You could say what? Football is an extra quarter as
opposed
to overtime.
Baseball doesn't end in a tie ever. That's why we have these horrible regular season games of baseball where they go 18 innings.
Exactly. So you have to try something to speed that up. Hockey had it, and then it used to have ties, and then they went to a tie / that went into a shootout, and then okay, we're gonna go tie. We're gonna go. You play a 4-on-4.
I've watched more hockey this year leading up to the Olympics. Like I watched the NHL. Can I give you my real take? I hate shootouts. I think it's stupid. It's like having a 3-point contest to win the game in overtime.
But that's what soccer does, and that's the most exciting thing.
Well, yeah, and then I mean the penalty kick, the PKs, like that's. So awesome.
Would you rather it have would you rather end in a tie?
Yes, I would just say yes. In
and
the NFL,
what
What do? You have a field goal kicking contest in the NFL? Is that what you do?
You like college. You have every possession starts on the 35
or
25.
Thanks to LSU, Texas A&M, they had to change that. But yeah, I actually like the way they do it. So at first I didn't like it, but now I understand why. They do it for degenerate bettors so that the score over under doesn't blow up and fans can go home so that they don't have to wait till 3:00 in the morning for the game to end because they keep scoring touchdowns.
The NBA, I believe it's fine because it's only 5 minutes and it's not like the last 2 minutes of a regular fourth quarter where you have 17 timeouts.
It
goes fairly quick.
I don't know if they did this in the All-Star game that just happened. I think they did, and I didn't realize it. But I think, did they play 4-on-4 or 3-on-3 in any of those?
In the All-Star game, I wouldn't know.
I can't remember. I really can't. I honest to God can't remember. But anyways, they had 3 different squads, but I don't think they played 4-on-4. I think they were 5-on-5 matchups. But anyways,
I don't think there's a reason to change it because it's paced well
4-on-4
enough.
basketball I have seen. I have actually taken part in 4-on-4 full court basketball. I wanted to die. I don't think that's a good idea at all. I don't think 4-on-4 basketball is a good idea. 3-on-3, absolutely not.
So I think it's a lot of don't try to find changes where they're not.
Is it because of the fact that it's sudden death, and in the NBA that's not the end all be all? Like the first score wins. Like you don't do that in the NBA. And in baseball,
No, there's
football,
everybody gets enough possessions, enough plays up, and it's quick enough where it doesn't drag everything down.
Well, the only thing I always remembered, because I remember my first hockey game I ever saw, it was the Avalanche and the Panthers. And it went to triple overtime in the Stanley Cup final because it has to end with a winner. You can't have a tie in the playoffs.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, no. So and that's why we had this recent game between the Dodgers and the Blue Jays in the World Series where win 18 innings. You got to have a winner. There has to be a winner, like the old wrestling phrase. But in the NBA, there is a couple things I would think about. Now, I got to be very honest, Adam. I didn't do the deep diving on the rules, but there's 2 things I would do. Number 1, reset the penalty. So you're not in the penalty to start the overtime. Now, they may have already done this and I don't realize it.
Okay.
I really don't know. I think you're still already in the penalty when the overtime starts if you were in the penalty going into the end of regulation. I don't know if they reset it or they lessen it, or it's like instead of 5 fouls to give, you have only 2. I can't remember. That's one I would think about. The other one, bring the shot clock to 20 seconds. Take 4 seconds off the shot clock. Well, let me say this though. I can understand after watching the 3-on-3 overtime, because there was multiple overtimes. It wasn't just the finals. There was like 5 or 6 of them. I can understand why the goal happens quickly. Do you have any idea how hard it is?
If you have 5-on-5, opening it to 4, it used to be 4-on-4, then went down to 3-on-3.
Yeah.
That makes it a chance to end with a win, as opposed to like teams just like, yeah, we're going to be a tie and just sort
Adam,
of.
if you're a goalie, can you imagine the nightmare of having to play in a 3-on-3 overtime?
It's only for 5 minutes.
That's like being a defender and you have to play 4-on-4 basketball.
That's why you want to get a goal fast, I would imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
So
but
again, I see a lot of just
20-second shot clock, reset the fouls to give. That's what I would do. That would really quicken up the overtimes. Like I think the overtime 5-minute period works perfectly. That's why
I don't think it drags.
Oh no,
I you have it like the teams start taking it seriously. It's like we've made it. All we need to do is one good 5-minute run and we're good.
And you know what I've always noticed, and you probably noticed this too, because you've watched more basketball than I have probably in my lifetime. You always noticed, especially in college, even in the NBA though, there's always a 2-minute stretch between less than 3 minutes to go and less than 2 minutes to go. Like there's a 1.5-minute stretch where nobody scores. Have you always noticed that? Where there's always that little divot in the end where they're just rushing everything and nobody's making anything. Like the overtime will start with like, ooh, a basket, ooh, a layup, ooh, a 3. And then there's about a 1-minute stretch or 1.5-minute stretch where nobody scores. Have you ever noticed that?
It's in every quarter. It's just more
adjustments
noticeable in a shortened overtime period.
In the end, in college basketball, it's highly noticeable. Like you can see like where nobody's scoring or everybody's just trying to get to the free throw line because that's an assured bucket, instead of trying to take it the chance of getting open for a shot and getting the jitters and missing a 3, because that's the other thing. The pressure's on in overtime. If you miss this, you're the Billy Goat, not the goat, the Billy Goat. Didn't Steph Curry have a movie called Goat come out?
Yes.
Where he's like a cartoon goat?
Yes, it's a nice little kids basketball movie. But so I guess we will agree the NBA has a lot of issues right now. This is not one of them.
No, I don't think. And I know we've had David Stern has kind of entertained those other ideas when he was still around as commissioner. Like, oh, let's have a 4-point line, or what's another? Let's make the basket higher because everybody's dunking everything. We want less dunks. You know, like I don't like the rock and jock stuff. Like I don't think that ever was real. I think a 4-point play in overtime would be stupid, to be very honest with you.
No need to change it yet, as teams still play by the overtime rules, and there's no we made it to overtime, well, we need to tank, and then
But
we'll just score nothing.
the basics of this argument is that it was like it was a dead issue walking because it's not sudden death in basketball anyways, is what you're trying to say.
So then I guess we're just going to have to agree on this one. And with that, that brings an end to this episode. So for Andrew Reish, I am Adam Murray. Have a good one.
Take care.